Clutch. My name's Anthony De Bono. Alongside me is Austin Grad and the Jeremy Bush. And boys, how you guys doing today?
Doing great, Anthony. About to have a nice podcast here with you.
All right, guys. Now we're going to preview the second round of the NHL playoffs. Huge surprise that Blackhawks did get swept by the Nashville Predators. They're going to take on the St. Louis Blues in the second round of the Western Conference playoffs. Austin, what do you think's going to happen?
All right, well, Anthony, so Nashville looked really good. Pekka Rinne only let up 3 goals against them in the whole series against the prolific Blackhawks offense. So I like how Nashville's whole team played together as well. Johansson had a really good series, but you have to look at the Blues and say Tarasenko's been there before. They beat the Blackhawks in last year's first round, and they have the better experience. Jake Allen was a total stud in the series. So St. Louis has a good chance, in my opinion, to knock off Nashville just because of their experience and they've been there before.
What about you, Jeremy?
I'm thinking that it's actually going to be Nashville looked really, really strong, and I just feel like once you're on a roll, once you get hot in any kind of playoffs, no matter what sport, it just carries over so much. So I'm going to say that Nashville's going to take it. It'll go to 7 games, but I think Nashville ultimately takes it and goes on to the Western Conference Final.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeremy. I think Nashville's too much. I think Pekka Rinne just played outstanding against the Blackhawks in the first round. Jake Allen did really play well against Minnesota, but I just think Nashville's just rolling, and they'll continue to roll. Now moving on, staying in the Western Conference, it's the Anaheim Ducks against the Edmonton Oilers. The Ducks coming off of a sweep against the Flames. Edmonton beat San Jose in 6 games. Austin, again, your take.
So, in regards to this series, Edmonton obviously has one of the best young rising talents in Connor McDavid, but the Anaheim Ducks have again been there before. They've got to the Western Conference Finals for the last few years and the last bunch of years, and they also have more talent as a whole, rather as Edmonton just has that one-star player. I like the Ducks to advance in a pretty easy series, maybe in 5.
Jeremy, your thoughts?
I'm going to be honest here. I am going to disagree again. I feel that when you are able, as Edmonton has over the last few years, to get at least top 5, if not number 1 overall picks, and you just amount that, their entire team is starting to mesh, especially more on offense. And Cam Talbot has shown that he can be a starting goaltender in this league. I don't think it'll go as few games as you're thinking. I think it's going to go to probably 7. I do see the Ducks still going out with it, but I think that it's going to be a more interesting series than what people were thinking.
Yeah, I think the Ducks do win in 6 or 7. I think getting Cam Fowler back for the Ducks and Sami Vatanen, 2 big defensemen for the Ducks. They lost them in the first. They didn't have them in the first round, and having them in the second round against a fast, young Edmonton team will definitely help the Ducks. Now let's move over to the Eastern Conference, where the Ottawa Senators will take on the New York Rangers. Ottawa coming off of a huge series win against the Boston Bruins. New York, a huge win against the Canadiens. Austin, you're up again.
So, I like New York a lot in this series. They really pressured Price against Montreal, and Montreal was one of the top defensive teams in the league. And because they don't score too many goals, so they had to pride on defense. And New York looked really well on offense. They had a lot of great zone playoff plays, I guess you can say, and they had a lot of great scoring chances against Montreal, and they were able to convert a lot. So like New York in this series over Ottawa.
Jeremy?
I think that New York is also going to take it. I think it'll probably go to 6 games just because I don't know if the Rangers are as meshed as other teams are in the playoffs, but I also feel that it's going to be tough because Craig Anderson's really playing. His wife is still with cancer, so I mean that's just been his driving passion, his reason for winning these last however many weeks since he found out. I think that that's really going to make a difference in this series. I think that Erik Karlsson's still one of the best defensemen in the NHL, and that's going to cause some havoc. And it's still a young, quick team that can definitely score goals at will. So it'll be an interesting series. But I take Rangers in 6.
Yeah, again, I'm agreeing with Jeremy here again. So I think New York will take it in 6 or 7. I think Lundqvist is just too good. time and time again, he proves that he is still the man in New York. Now we're moving over a very intriguing series with the Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh had a pretty easy first round against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Washington was in a dogfight. 5 of the 6 games went into overtime against the Maple Leafs. Austin, this is a big one. What do you got?
I'm going to, I think, go against the grain here. I really like Washington to advance. I think they're going to get rid of the curse. I think Pittsburgh's goaltending is a question, in my opinion. Marc-Andre Fleury did struggle at times against Columbus. He had a lot of streaks where he let up 3 goals at a time. For example, in their last game they played against Columbus, he let up 3 goals in 7 minutes at the first period. And that is going to really be hard to do when you have players like, obviously, Alexander Ovechkin, Backstrom for Washington on their offensive attack. And also, Washington has been playing better defense as of late, too, in the playoffs, and that's how they were able to get some of those games into overtime. It wasn't really their offense as much as their defensemen that were playing really well. So I like Washington in 7 in this one.
This series is probably the one that took the longest for me to think about. I just feel that it's such a close matchup, and the last time these two teams played, obviously Pittsburgh advanced, and it was in 7 games. It was a gritty series. I just feel that after all of this hype about the matchup and everything, I think the biggest key is if Pittsburgh can keep Justin Williams and TJ Oshie out of the net, because obviously they're going to already be looking at Backstrom and Ovechkin, but those 2 players have been so sneaky good in these last 5 games against the Maple Leafs. It's just you have to watch and make sure that those guys are getting shut down. I do think that Pittsburgh's goaltenders are questionable, but when you have Evgeny Malkin, you have Kuhnhackl, you have Kessel, you have all these weapons on offense, not saying you can get away with it, but those guys will definitely give you some goal support. So I feel like Pittsburgh's going to take it in 7.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh actually wins it in 5 or 6. I don't think the Capitals are there yet. I mean, this is their year, everyone thinks, and after playing 5 tough games, 6 games, but 5 of them in overtime against the Maple Leafs, I mean, it wears the team out in the playoffs. I mean, when you have to play the Maple Leafs and then go and play Pittsburgh in a 7-game set, I think it's just too much for the Capitals to overcome. But now, in terms of the championship, who is going to win the Stanley Cup, Austin?
I'm going to say Washington. I'm going to say they got over the curse. The Cubs just got over in the baseball season, and I like Washington this year. I think they've been playing really well together. As Jeremy was saying, Oshie was a great addition. He's been playing really well on the front line, and I really like Washington to win it all this season against the Ducks, I think, in the finals.
Okay, now, Jeremy, it's your turn.
I'm going for a dark horse pick. I'm staying in the East, but I'm saying the Rangers are winning the Stanley Cup. I know it's definitely a risky choice, but I just feel like that team is so young and there's a big potential for goal scoring. The defense has been solid, and it's Lundqvist in net. So I think anything can happen. I think they're the one Eastern Conference team that can actually beat the Penguins, and the Western Conference doesn't really scare me as much this year. So I feel like they might be the Rangers year, not like 2014 when they lost to the Kings.
Well, when you have Lundqvist in net, you're always in for a good one, and you can win. Your chances of winning are pretty high when you have Lundqvist in net. But I'm going to have to honestly go in the West, and I really do think the Ducks are going to be Stanley Cup champions.
I'm not completely convinced of John Gibson being that Stanley Cup winning goaltender yet. He's very, very good. He's a young player. He still has a lot to learn in this league. I just feel like he might get overpowered by a team like Pittsburgh or even in the Western Conference Final against Nashville.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. For Austin Grad and Jeremy Bush, I'm Anthony De Bono. See you next time.